it's 7:30 in the morning, and there's pretty much only one thing that gets me up at 7:30 in the morning. I'm usually up around 8 anyway, but anyway, I was up at 7. Gets me up earlier than usual is RV repairs. So today's the day I take it in to get it checked, get the transmission checked. And I'm nervous, very nervous. But hopefully at least I'll know what's wrong with it and how much it'll cost to get it fixed. That's all I can do at this point. So I'll take you along with me. And we'll figure it out. I haven't had my first cup of coffee. I'm barely awake.
There ain't nobody gonna do it for you. Got to mind your own.
Well, test drive is complete. He doesn't think it's the transmission. He said he's never heard anything like that. With the transmission, he expects grinding, not whistling. I have like this weird whistling. And he notices it's only on acceleration, and he asks, he's like, you know, I didn't experience the shifting problem. I'm like, I'm having no shifting problems. It shifts fine. It's not slipping, it's not shifting hard, it's shifting fine. So I don't know what it is. Something's going on. Hopefully it's not the engine. Ooh. So he said he's gonna check a couple things, check the fluid, and a viewer suggested I put some transmission repair stuff in. I did. I emptied a quart of transmission fluid like he suggested, put that stuff in. Didn't help at all. The mechanic was like, yeah, that stuff doesn't help. I get a lot of advice, and I know people want to help, and I figured it's not going to hurt anything. Nicest garage restroom ever. Wow. So it was a quart low, and he thinks my my transmission pan is wet. So he thinks I might have a gasket leak, but it's only a quart low. And one of the other mechanics said it might be a bearing, bad bearing in the transmission, so he's going to test drive it. But what I'm going to do is make an appointment. They can't do it today because of parts, to get a complete transmission fluid change, new filter, new gasket. It needs that anyway. And yeah, so we'll go from there, see what happens. I knew it wasn't the transmission because it's shifting fine. It's totally shifting fine. Everybody's like, transmission. Like, but it's shifting fine. I've been testing it, and paying really close attention. It shifts fine. So a second mechanic drove it and said it's not the transmission. I'm so happy. Made my day. He thinks it might be a vacuum leak, which is something that has come up over the years because of the jerking. I've talked about this before. Driving, all of a sudden I'll get a jerk. I'll get a jerk on acceleration. And a vacuum leak is something that keeps coming up. He thinks that's what it is. So I'm going back in about a week and a half to do the transmission fluid change, new gasket, new filter, and also to do a vacuum diagnostic to see if I do have a vacuum leak. And also my e-brake. I think my e-brake busted. I have no emergency brake at all, and maybe that's what the noise of my brakes has been. So, really good news. Really good news. It's not a transmission. Thank. Hey friendlies. Good. So you might recall I've had some issues with the brake job that I recently had done, and I took it in and they ended up replacing a brake pad. Well, it was good for a while, and then I was going down a hill and I heard a loud grinding and a crack and a crunch, and I almost thought I wasn't going to stop for a minute. I got really nervous. I didn't think I was going to stop. And then it was fine. I drove the rest of the way in my destination and it was fine. And then one other time, a few days later, a week later, whatever, I was driving it again and I heard a little bit of a grinding again. But since then, it's been fine. And I started doing a little research, and I found out that my e-brake might be bad. I can't remember the last time my e-brake was checked, and the e-brake is on your back brakes if you don't know that. It's separate from your regular brakes, but it's in the back. But what I was thinking is when that snap, huge, awful thing I heard going downhill, I don't know what that was, but that might have been in the e-brake. So I was parked on a hill. I put it in neutral, I put the e-brake on, and nothing was stopping me at all. So I'm hoping that all the issues that I was having with the brakes was maybe something with the e-brake. So that's why I'm going to have them look at it the next time I take it into the Ford dealership. They're doing everything. I had just scheduled an appointment it was Tuesday. Today's Thursday. It was Tuesday. I had just scheduled the appointment just to take it in first thing in the morning for a diagnostic for the transmission, and they were really nice. So another thing, a lot of you have said before, why don't you just take it to a Ford dealership? I've called Ford dealerships before in different parts of the country, and they're like, no, we don't. One of them actually said we don't work on something that old, which is ridiculous. It's a Ford product, and I think maybe I didn't call anymore after that, or maybe I just assumed by driving by and looking at them that the garages were too small, that they wouldn't be able to get me in. But I've not had good luck with Ford dealerships before. Well, this time I'm kind of desperate. I'm calling everybody. And I did notice in this small town that I drove through that they had a bigger bay, and when I called them, he was like, yeah, no, we can't lift anything like that. And I'm like, I'm only 10,000 pounds. And he's like, okay, we'll bring it in. We'll figure it out. This is a long story, longer than I intended this part of the video to be. They told me they wouldn't be able to replace the transmission because they only had one lift. The guy who operates the lift doesn't do transmissions. So I was like, you know what though, can you at least just do a diagnostic so that you can tell me what I'm facing? Do I need a new transmission? He's like, sure, bring it in. So that's what I did. They had one big, huge garage area with several lifts on it. The one lift that might have been able to lift me couldn't handle my length. They pointed out there was no way they would be able to get my length in there. They'd have to empty out the whole garage. So this is the issue with an RV. I'm having a really hard time, and I'm near a fairly big city, and I'm having a really hard time finding anybody who can work on it. I've called probably 5 places by now, between brakes before I got the brake job done and the transmission thing. So just another caution, if you're wavering between like a Sprinter van or a regular van and a Class C or a Class A RV, just know you're always going to be facing challenges when you're trying to find people to work on your Class A or your Class C. Also know, because you're traveling all the time, you don't have roots, you don't have connections in one place, you're gonna pay more. I always pay a premium. In fact, the brake job, they even had on the invoice heavy duty premium labor. So a lot of people tell me all the time that I overpay. Well, not really, considering how difficult it is, supply and demand, right? When you have one place in a 150-mile radius that can handle a rig this size, of course they're going to charge a premium. Of course they're going to charge you more because they can, right? Supply and demand. So that's kind of just bringing you up to date on some of the things that have been going on and why I am still like trying to figure out what's going on with the brakes. I drove it. It hasn't scraped the last 2 or 3 times I drove it. Didn't scrape at all going to the Ford dealership, although the second guy who drove it said, when's the last time you had your brakes done? Because he heard kind of like a grinding. So I'm going to have them look at everything again when they go in, although they have to lift it up on individual jacks. It's challenging. It's always challenging. So that's my story. And, I hope you find this helpful, and I hope it's information that you can take away for future reference. And thank you all so much for watching and being here. If you enjoy my videos, do me a favor and hit that subscribe button. It really helps. And also the bell for notifications so you never miss a thing. I keep getting the same questions over and over again, and I've done hundreds and hundreds of videos. So if you're new here, go back. I've made playlists to help you find stuff super easy, and a lot of people like to start from the beginning and just binge watch everything. There's plenty there, so enjoy. And thank you all for everything you do to support my channel, watching all the way through, giving a thumbs up, sharing, commenting, it all helps. And a special shout out to patrons who help make this a full-time job. So thank you all so much, and we'll see you Sunday. I have a fun video for you on Sunday with some cool stuff from Bluetti, and also a really gorgeous rainy day in the Adirondacks. I think you're really going to enjoy it. So see you then, and in the meantime, be happy, be free, and be kind. I'll see you soon.